Welcome back, comrades. This is Gaming with Austin. Today, we're going towards episode 124. Of the Utopian Community series. One thing I discovered that is, if everything was truly free, yet people still worked for it, physics would break down as we know it. Because star formation does have a cost. All processes do have some cost to it. Matter. Except for down to the quantum level. I still believe in the aspect of free healthcare. Because healthcare is a basic human right, not an entitlement. There are poor families out there who work really hard, yet make very little money. What I hate about capitalism is that you're literally gambling with the stock market. You are literally gambling with the economy. Literally. You are gambling. In capitalism, the wealthy few, they don't work for that, their money. At all. In fact, in capitalism, most of the business people descend from wealthy families across America. Like, that make millions of dollars. They descend from the wealthy families of America. A lot of them descend from wealthy families of America that start off with slavery. Some of those wealthy families who ended up becoming the wealthiest families in America, they start off with slavery. Which is a really big problem. Modern day example of something similar to slavery, modern day example of what I consider slavery is wage theft. Like, commercial farmers are one of the many victims of wage theft. It's not just those on the McJobs, but they're the most well-known victims of wage theft. Another aspect of capitalism that is denying animals veterinary care for maximum profit. Because in capitalism, almost all the times, the reason why they're denied veterinary care is that they're trying to make as much profit as they can, without regards to animal welfare. Without regards to animal welfare. And in the socialist country, one thing I'd push to limit is research and mass production. would be really bad if that is that what was really horrible about Nazi Germany that we don't want. It's the fact that they literally banned trade unions. We need trade, which is just unjust. Which was literally unjust. It's one of the least justifiable things Hitler did. Achieving true communism, in my eyes, it would take several generations. It doesn't happen overnight. It would take a process of several generations. It doesn't just happen overnight. I'd still do trade within the country through the use of bartering. For the first couple decades under communism, there would be, to help speed things up for the 5-year plan. I hate to do this, but there would be genetic engineering. I hate to do this. We're doing this to maximize production. Genetic engineering in which that'd mean no more. That'd mean with genetic engineering, that'd mean that for one, like, the workers would sort of be built like a sumo wrestler. Kind of fat yet kind of muscular at the same time. Kind of fat, yet at the same time also pretty muscular. But you know, that'd be discriminatory. Plus, genetic engineering can cause problems on its own too. So if you're gonna do it, be careful. If you're gonna do genetic engineering, be careful. Like, I'm not gonna change their skin color or anything. I'm not gonna change their skin color or anything. Because that's just racist. I'd modify them to where they are naturally very productive. Because, you know, our productivity is increasing. It's a good thing our productivity is literally increasing. Yet our wages are not keeping up with productivity. You may think income inequality in America is really bad. Look at Africa. They have it even worse. Mainly because of totalitarian dictatorships, stripping people of their right to form trade unions. It's also really hard to get a job in Africa. Which is why unemployment rate in Africa is so damn high. The biggest factor in unemployment in Africa, a lot of it's related to a high child mortality rate. How to reduce unemployment rate around the world? Reduce the child mortality rate. There's a factor of... I myself personally am in favor of mandatory genetic testing. I'll do it to optimize the health of the child. I'll do it to... Mandatory genetic testing, I know some parents might get pissed off by this. But I'm doing this in an effort to save every last child and minimize the child mortality rate, so parents wouldn't have to worry about having more kids. Mandatory genetic testing, I know some parents might get really pissed off. I know. But in the long run, child mortality rate would drop by a long shot. Think about it. When a country has a really high child mortality rate, unemployment rate ends up skyrocketing. Because when there's a high child mortality rate, parents resort to having a lot of kids to make sure at least some of them do survive to adulthood. This is what life is like in a country with high child mortality rate. Parents usually have a lot of kids in those countries. If we want to end poverty, one thing we need to do is abolish capitalism, literally. Because a lot of the people making poverty wages actually work harder than you think. They work a lot harder than you think. An example of someone making poverty wages: farmers who work for big businesses. Commercial farmers working for big businesses, like Walmart, Target, Publix, Kroger, Bilo, you name them. The CEOs of those companies make a lot of money out of the suffering of not only the animals, but their employees and the farmers. The bourgeoisie, most of them, they don't care about how hard their employees work. They only care about money. Nothing but money. Some of those people who are exploiting workers for money, sometimes it's the motive for exploiting workers is to maximize your own personal profit. Some of it would be ethnic motivation. Some of it would be ethnically motivated violence, or tribally motivated violence. Tribes are divisions within the human race. They can mix together, and their child is still human. But the Nazis want you to believe that they are different races. That is not true. Doesn't matter your skin color. Black, white, Asian, Arab, you are still human. No matter what. You are still a person. You are still a human. No matter what. An example of an Orwellian dictator, outside of Donald Trump, is Adolf Hitler. Now let's go outside the school. Warriors, warriors of the world. Brothers everywhere, raise your fists into the air. We're warriors, warriors of the world. The truth is, the universal currency there is, it's actually energy. All processes within the universe will cost energy. Even down to the quantum level, it still requires energy. The maximum efficiency we can achieve for a car engine on Earth is about 74% efficiency. If we want to go even higher, it's going to require something that can handle extreme heat, like titanium, or straight up carbon. Carbon conducts both heat and electricity quite well. The biggest factor that makes it to where nothing's free lies within the laws of thermodynamics. Now, it's time we should start building a cafeteria. Actions that can get you punished by your parents, some of those actions can actually get you in trouble with the law. Like, as a child, like, some of the actions you do as a child that can get you grounded by your parents can actually literally get you into trouble with the law. Which is why we can't abolish grounding. Because children who do those actions, if they did the same actions again as an adult, they can actually end up in jail. Whether it be a state prison or federal prison. Whether it be state or federal prison. The reason why meat is less free than is not as free as you think. Like, doesn't cost. Like, they want. If meat really cannot cost you nothing at all. Because animals pay for it, they have to pay even more for it, compared to us humans, with their lives. Our money is spent on their lives. Fascism in a nutshell. You start building a house for the government. They take all the money. They take all your fascist governments are out for your hard-earned money. They don't care about how hard you work, just like how capitalism works. They don't care about how hard you work, or the quality of the product. They only care about money, which is one reason to go against capitalism. What is the biggest problem with open borders in our society? One of the problems is it can open the doors to people who are trying to invade our country and impose Sharia law. Immigration border control, immigration policies, like there was a spike in immigration control policies from, like, immigration policies got a lot stricter, like when the terrorists smacked into the World Trade Center. How to fight terrorism, immigration control. Strict gun laws don't do anything. In fact, they make things even worse. Let's think with Hitler. Even if they did not invade Russia or anything, ultimately his government would have still gotten overthrown in the middle of World War II, just like how Mussolini got overthrown and executed. But even if they invaded Russia in the middle of summer, the Nazis would have still lost. They still would have lost, regardless of what they've done. Because the fate of the government, because even regardless of what they do, the Nazi regime would have still collapsed. Regardless of what they've done. One thing that drove people into overthrowing the Nazi government is their use of ethnic cleansing. To not be as racist, tribal cleansing would be a better option. Their main target, like, they targeted Jews, the Romani people. They even targeted blacks. The biggest factor in why unemployment rate is really high in Africa is because of a high child mortality rate. When parents are pushed into having as many kids as possible, it leads to child mortality, which means parents have even more kids. It literally creates a runaway effect. The businessmen, they care a lot more about profits now than ever. They don't care about how hard their workers work. They just don't care. They only care about money. Sometimes they'd go to extreme measures to maximize their profits, whether it be through wage theft, exploitation of foreign workers, or straight up slavery. Buying meat, it costs the chicken even more than it'll cost to you. It'll cost the animal more than it will cost you. You pay a fraction of the price, while the animals suffer. Animals pay for it with their lives. Your life is more valuable than all the global currency combined. My critique when it goes to going against the minimum wage increase is the value of the dollar is already dropping a lot. Eventually, the world economy would collapse as a result of something called hyperinflation. I see that hyperinflation in America is inevitable. Nothing in the universe is free. It all goes down to the laws of thermodynamics. Like, another thing that is causing food prices to soar around the world, climate change, is screwing with our farmland. Climate change is literally screwing with our farmland, which means there'd be areas of what was once farmland that is now infertile because of climate change. Because of climate change. Having a cat, ultimately it's very costly. Because you gotta spend a lot. The hidden costs of owning a cat includes grain to feed the animals that will eventually be eaten by the cats. And the cost of the animals that will be eaten by the cats themselves. Those are the hidden costs. Of owning a cat. The hidden costs of owning a dog are not as severe as owning a cat. The hidden costs of owning a dog are not as severe because dogs are not obligate carnivores. Cats are. Meaning without meat, cats will die. Because there's an amino acid they need that can only be found in meat. It's called taurine. They need taurine. The only way they can't produce it themselves. You know, cats themselves are very greedy compared to us humans by nature. They use that greed out of survival. Nowadays with humans, they only use greed out of... We used to be greedy out of survival, but now people are now greedy out of pleasure now. They're not as greedy out of survival as much as they used to be, which is a good thing. How do some people survive a famine? Some of it's related to the fact that their metabolism slows down. And poverty, you know, famine can cause poverty, which can cause even more famine. Famine is a cause of and a result of poverty. What drove hyperinflation in Germany? A lot of it's related to war reparations they had to pay. My idea is that we need to stop spending so much on the military. And get our soldiers out of Saudi Arabia. Get our soldiers out of Yemen. And cut ties with Saudi Arabia altogether. Because the reason we need to cut ties with Saudi Arabia entirely is because, for one, I have an idea for a more efficient car engine. Have you heard of something called a phase change cooler that they use in refrigerators to cool down the refrigerator to a desirable temperature to keep food fresh? It's also used to cool down computers for extreme overclocking too. That's another practical use of phase change cooling. A potential practical use for it is cooling down the engine to increase the efficiency. That's another potential practical use of phase change cooling. Well, power the cooler, it'd be powered straight from the car battery. The most efficient car engine we have that is very efficient on paper is at about, assuming current temperatures, is about 74% efficiency. 74 to 80% efficient. The reason why 100% efficiency is not possible for a car engine, whether it be a petrol or a diesel engine, a 100% efficient engine would violate the third law of thermodynamics. All processes in the universe require some form of energy. Heat is literally energy escaping. With meat, the animals pay a lot more than we do. They pay a lot more than we do for the meat than we do. The only time we should really resort to eating meat is in the event of a famine, like whether it be through hunting or scavenging. In extreme cases, if none of those are viable, cannibalism. If none of those are viable, cannibalism would be the next hope. Other animals practice cannibalism too, in extreme distress. Anyways, this is it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked this video, dislike if you disliked it, subscribe to this channel if you love this video, share this with your comrades on social media. As always, thank you for watching, and last but not least, peace out.